Hey guys, what's up? It's Spartacus here for another arena guide, this time for the rogue class. So we're going to draft a rogue deck, and I'm gonna go through what I'm looking for, and specifically what works with rogue decks. So let's get started. Okay, 1 second guys, just loading. Okay, there we go. Oh, we kick it off with a legendary. Okay, so this is a very easy choice of legendary. Nozdormu. Um, while hilarious and truly not the greatest card, the 9 mana is really tough to fit into a turn for just an 8/8. It is a hilarious card though, and if you want to have a lot of fun, feel free to pick it. Blinktron is basically a 5 mana 3/4 because we can assume that the battle cry is like equal, like the battle cry gives each player the same advantage. It's not like constructed where you could freeze him or you could have a Harrison or an Ooze or something. We can't count on that. In fact, in Rogue, we might have a weapon equipped already, and we'll just end up destroying our own weapon. So Blingtron's probably most of the time worse for us because sometimes it can destroy an opponent's weapon as well, but we'll usually have a weapon up. Hogger is solid. I think Hogger is it's 6 mana for a 6/6 technically, and it can keep growing. And the original body is protected by the 2/2, so it's quite a nice card in a lot of situations. It's pretty bad against Mage with the Flame Strikes, but other than that, I mean, I think it's a solid legendary. It's around the middle of the road legendary, and it will be the one we're taking here. Still, exciting start. Assassin's Blade is the card we're taking. Grimscale Oracle is terrible in Arena. It is unless you have a deck full of Murlocs, which you don't. It's a 1 mana 1/1. An Unstable Ghoul has a place. I think it's an average 2-drop. It trades with most other 2-drops, so it's all right. But Assassin's Blade is excellent in Arena. It just really gives you card advantage. Can take out so many cards for just the one. So Assassin's Blade it is. Okay, Dark Iron Dwarf is the card we're picking here. Ancient Brewmaster's average card in Arena. Battlecry can be useful. It's pretty good if you just drop it on an empty board on turn 4. It's 5/4, not bad stats, but it's not as good as Dark Iron Dwarf. Vanish is terrible. It isn't a board clear like some people. Like when I first started playing, I was like, oh, it's a board clear. Like all the minions go away, but it isn't. It's just like a reset on the board, and you give up 6 mana for it and they still have all the cards, so you don't get any card advantage whatsoever. So Vanish is actually a pretty bad card in general, unless you have a really specific kind of mill deck. So Dark Iron Dwarf it is. Dark Iron Dwarf is, in my opinion, the best 4-drop. It depends on your deck. If you have a lot of early game, it's much better. It is such a good card on turn 4. It gives you such an advantage. You can trade up and then have a nice body on the board. Dark Iron Dwarf is usually a snap pick for me in Arena. Okay, so here we have the Boulderfist Ogre. An excellent card, 6 mana, 6/7. Stats are great. Shadow Step, which is, unless you have a ton of very specific cards in Arena, it is rather poor. And then Razorfen Hunter, I think one on the lower tier of 3-drops, not that great. Boulderfist Ogre is a great card. And to reiterate from my previous video, in the first 10 picks, approximately the first 10 picks, I'm just taking the best card possible. I'm not thinking as much about synergy or what my curve looks like. So mostly just the best of the 3 options possible. Okay, so next 3 here. Archmage, Archmage, I guess Archmage. We'll go with Archmage. It's a good card, I think. I think it's solid in Arena. We're already got some late game cards, though. I think it's solid, though. Silverback Patriarch is a bad card. In Arena, I would usually advise not taking it. Maybe you can justify it in Hunter, because it's a beast. Dark Iron Dwarf again. Snap pick. Easy pick. Oh, this one's not so easy. So, the Archmage, again, it's a decent card, but it's not as good as these two. Scarlet Crusader, I love. On turn 3, you can usually see it 2-for-1ing a lot of other cards. It'll kill one, and then they'll have to like either ping it off or do something else. Usually to get rid of it, requires more mana than it costs, which gives you a big advantage in this game. Cult Master, I think, is excellent, especially in Paladin and Shaman. Not as much in Rogue. It depends on how much early game we have, but Cult Master is a good way to draw multiple cards. And I usually would take it, but the Scarlet Crusader, I think, is just too good, and we actually have no early game cards so far, so Cult Master's value is less. Again, though, it is the first 10 picks. Scarlet Crusader is an excellent card. Okay, the Elven Archer is not very good. Puddle Stomper is very vanilla, 2 mana for a 3/2, which is alright, and the Flesh-Eating Ghoul, I think it can be alright. It can get really big. I usually treat it as less than average for a 3-drop, and I'll take the Puddle Stomper in this case. Also, I don't have any 2-drops, but I don't really like the Flesh-Eating Ghoul. Okay. 3 rather poor cards. Corehound is a terrible card. Please don't pick it. The 5 health is really easy for other cards to trade up into. Anoitron in Arena is... I don't find it that great. It usually, it can trade with other 3/2s, but it can't trade with 2/3s. And I mean, it has the mech synergy, which is alright. I don't know if I played with it enough in Arena, but sometimes I find it just doesn't do enough damage. Like, they can just ping off the Divine Shield and trade into it, and you're still behind on board. Sap I like in Arena. It's a great tempo card. If they play like an 8-drop or something, you can just sap it back and you can really get tempo. Sometimes it's bad, but I think it's above average in Arena. It's a decent spell, and it's a type of removal. Okay, so here we have the Rivercroc, the Mech Warper, and the Bloodsail Raider. Again, first 10 cards, not looking at the synergies too much. The Bloodsail Raider is the card I'm going to take here. They all are 2-drops with the exact same stats, but the Bloodsail Raider usually will get more because it gains the attack equal to the attack of your weapon. And with Rogue, you'll usually have a dagger up, and sometimes you'll have an Assassin's Blade up, so you'll get even more value out of it. So it's a very good Rogue card. Ooh, this is a fairly easy choice for me. The Goblin Sapper is rather mediocre. Don't think of it as... It's usually not going to get the +4 attack. It's usually just a 3-mana 2/4. The Wild Pyro is a pretty good card, especially in Rogue, because usually you have a lot of cheap spells, so you can kind of combo the Wild Pyro to clear board sometimes. But we don't have any spells yet, and in general, the SI7 agent is just too powerful. If you have the coin, on turn 2 you use coin SI7 agent, it is a huge swing. Like, sometimes that can just win the game. It is a very powerful card. I'm going to take it. Okay, so we are 10 picks in here, and the Anubar Ambusher is a decent card in Rogue, but it's a better card when you have a slower curve, because if you have a lot of minions out early and then you play this, you're just going to kind of hurt yourself, because they'll kill this and then you'll lose another minion and it'll go back to your hand. You'll have to replay it. So technically, I don't really like this card most of the time in Arena. Unstable Ghoul is decent, but I don't like that it could sometimes affect your own board. It's an average 2-drop. I think Frost Elemental is a superior card in Arena. I'm not sure what the other opinions are on it, but it is a huge tempo card. If you're behind and they have a big minion, you can just Frost Elemental it and basically even up the board in a lot of situations, because they can't attack with that minion for the turn. So I really like Frost Elemental, and we're going to take it here. Ugh. This is a big ugh. Wisp is awful. Please don't ever pick it. Sinister Strike is also pretty bad unless you're going really, really aggressive. And Nightblade usually is also pretty bad, but it's got a body at least. Like, it's got 4/4 in stats, which is not good for a 5-drop, but late in the game sometimes it can give you that 3 extra damage plus the body. So it's not as bad as Sinister Strike, and they do the same thing. So I'll take the Nightblade and hope to get better cards. Okay. So this is a decision between Bloodsail Corsair and Dread Corsair. or Bloodsail Raider and Dread Corsair. Bloodsail Raider, again, we talked about the advantage. It's like a 2-3-3. You can usually count on those stats. Dread Corsair can be a big tempo boost in the early game if you have a weapon with more an attack, but I don't have any deadly poisons or anything to buff my weapon right now. So we can just say it's a 3 mana 3/3, which is very pedestrian. Silver Moon Guardian is actually a good card in, not wouldn't say very good. It's a solid card in Arena, but I don't think it's as good as the Bloodsail Corsair is for Rogue specifically. Ooh hoo hoo! We get the Tinker Sharpshooter. So this card is basically the reason for what we call Oil Rogue in Constructed right now. It's a very powerful card. If you can combo it, you can get a big boost. You can really hit them hard. You can get really aggressive, and to combine this with the Assassin's Blade, you can kill them really quickly. You can burst them down. So I'm going to take it, especially over the Sinister Strike and the Dancing Swords, which is very mediocre. Okay, this is a pretty easy pick. Conceal is not good in Arena. Giving stealth to your minions can be like advantageous in some situations, but it's very situational, and you want cards in Arena that work in a lot of situations. Thrallmar Farseer is a bad card. 3 mana for 2/3 is not worth it, despite Wind Fury. Usually it just doesn't get its value. Defias Ringleader is a good card. If you can combo it, if you can get the coin and bring it out on turn 2, it is incredibly difficult to deal with. It's a fantastic card. Okay, so Nightblade we already talked about. Murloc Tidehunter is a Murloc that, and I mean, it's alright. It's a 2/1, 1/1. It's got alright value on turn 2. It's worse against classes that can deal 1 damage. If it's good for a really aggressive deck. And this deck is looking moderately aggressive, but all rogues are fairly aggressive. You'll find that. What happens with the rogue hero power is you can control the board early, but you tend to run out of cards because usually your curves are low, and you also run out of health. So we're going to be looking later on, in general, for rogues. You want to look for healing and for taunt, and depending on the curve card draw. Spectral Knight is a great card, though, and we're going to take it. Okay, so I was just talking about card draw. Novice Engineer is just cycling. It's not that great. Novice Adventure gives you at least a body, and it also gives you a card. So it's an excellent card to draw late. Yeti, however, is just such a strong presence on turn 4, and my curve is actually pretty high right now, so I'm not that concerned about card draw, and I prioritize the Yeti over the Inventor based off my curve. If my curve had a lot more 2s and a lot more 3s, and there was not much in the late game, then I need more cards because I won't be able to play my cards. I'll be playing my cards too fast, and I'll run out of them. Because I have late game cards here, I'll be playing less cards, so I won't run out of them as quickly. Okay. Gurubashi Berserker is not good in Rogue. There's no way to really, there's no synergies in this deck either to really help it out that much. Nightblade is also not very good. The body is bad. River Crocolisk is vanilla. It's a 2 mana 2/3. It's alright. Whatever. It's nothing special. Okay, I don't have many 3-drops, and I'm going to consider the Dread Corsair a 3-drop. I talked about the new Anubar Ambusher. I don't like it. Some people might disagree. Personally, I think that it's a tempo loss, and in this deck, tempo isn't as big a deal, but I'm going to take the Dread Corsair. I talked about needing a taunt of some sort, or a few, and if you can combine it on turn 6 with the Assassin's Blade, it can be a nice swing. So, Dread Corsair it is. Yuck. Okay. Not a lot of great picks in this draft. These 3 cards are bad. Cold Light Seer, you need more Murlocs. I guess I have a Puddle Stomper. Turn 2 Puddle Stomper, turn 3 Cold Light Seer. Is that good enough? Because the Master Swordsmith is usually fairly poor. You have to protect it, but it can get some value. And the Secret Keeper is also fairly poor. I don't have any secrets either, so it's really not a good card. Master Swordsmith is not a card you play on turn 2. It's like a supplemental card. I think it can work out in Rogue a little bit, because you can protect it a little bit, buff up some minions. Like, if I were to coin out Defi's Ringleader and the Master Swordsmith, that would be pretty good. I'll do that. I think the Cold Light Seer is just much, much worse. Okay, well, here's a good card. The Defender of Argus. Defender of Argus is essentially a 4 mana 5/4, but the stats are spread. If you can get it out on turn 4 and you have 2 minions, it can be very, very good. And it gives them taunt, which is also a nice bonus there. And I need taunt in this deck. Light Warden, I have no healing, so there's no way for it to work. In Priest, it's a good card. And Bloodsail Corsair is a bad card. Okay, this is a very easy pick. Madman Rager is a terrible card. Sinister Strike is also not a good card in Arena specifically. Gilblin Stalker, decent 2-drop. Okay, I've talked about all these cards, and while I don't have a lot of 3-drops, in fact, I have 2. I guess we can put the Corsair in there if we want. I'm still taking the Frost Elemental, because this is still just a terrible card to play on turn 3. I don't want to have to play this on turn 3. This is a better card late game, and I mean, it's alright if you can buff it with one of my Dark Iron Dwarfs, I guess. I guess that's worth considering, but usually the 3 health will get killed, so you'll only be able to run it into one thing anyway. So I'm going to take the Frost Elemental. Okay, so in my last video, I had a very hilarious Matter Bomber that didn't kill my own Harvest Golem. Matter Bomber is a great card. I don't know, if I fall behind, I don't really have much to come back at this point. I mean, I have Sap, which helps me come back. I have Frost Elemental, which helps me come back. But Matter Bomber can help actually clear the board instead of, like, be more of a tempo card. So Matter Bomber it is against the other. We're very mediocre cards. Okay, great card here, Spider Tank. I need a card to play on turn 3. It fills that role. It's one of the best 3-drops with its stats, the 3/4. Lost Hall Strider is an average 4-drop. It's alright. 5/4 is worse than 4/5, though, because it doesn't trade as well with a lot of the other 4-drops. 4/5 is what you're looking for in the 4-drop. The Chillwind Yeti is really fantastic. And then the Argent Squire, while better in classes that can deal 1 damage, like Rogue, I really would like the Spider Tank over it. Okay, this is an easy pick. These 2 cards are terrible, and the Haunted Creeper is... It's a very good card. It's a better card when you can deal 1 damage, because it can trade with the 3/2s. And then you get the 2 1/1s, and then maybe I can figure out a way to buff them up a little bit, or, you know, maybe you can Defender of Argus them. This deck's got some synergy going now, and the Haunted Creeper is the pick, it looks like. Now I'm starting to get worried, because I have no card draw. And my curve is looking very too heavy. I still have a lot of 5s and 4s, so I'm not all that concerned. But still. This is a little bit of a tough pick. Shiv draws me a card. But it really is just a cycle card, basically. War Golem is a nice big body. The cost isn't really that impressive for the body, but it is a late game card. I do have a fair amount of those, though. 1, 2, 3, 4... 5, 6, 7, and 8 if you want to say the Assassin's Blade for the 5 and 6 drops. So I think I'm okay. The Ooze is, if this was a bad 2-drop, I'd take the War Golem, but the Ooze is very good. It's very useful against certain classes especially. Destroying weapons can be very good. So I'm going to take the Ooze, even though I have a ton of 2-drops. Okay. Mad Bomber is a very good card. It can deal with a lot of things early on. It can really give you the tempo in the early game. However, I have too many 2-drops, so I can't take it. This choice is between the Dread Corsair and the Silverhand Knight. Now, right now, the Dread Corsair is really looking like it's just going to be a 3-mana 3/3 because of I don't have any weapon buffs in this deck except for the 1 Assassin's Blade I have right here. Silverhand Knight is an excellent 5-drop. It's a 5 mana for 6/6 in stats, so I'll take it. Another poor pick. Nightblade, again, we talked about it. Dalaran Mage is very poor. The stats are just terrible. I don't even think I have any spells in this deck. No, not spells that do damage, at least, so it's even worse. Oasis Snapjaw is alright. The health is very high for a 4-drop, and it can kill some smaller creatures. Ooh. This is a toughie. This is a very tough decision. Okay, I'm not going to take Feral Reaver. Feral Reaver can be very good in Arena. It's a very difficult card to play. You have to kind of figure out when you can afford to play it. And it can be alright if you're trying to get really, really aggressive sometimes. But I'm not going to pick it because the other two are better in this situation. Big game, I have no hard removal in this deck. I have a sap. That's it. No hard removal whatsoever. So I think this one's tough. The thing is, there aren't actually that many minions with 7 attack or more. I mean, it's great for the Force Tag Max, but that's it. Sky Golem is just an incredible card. It has so much value packed into it. The problem I'm seeing is I have so much late game, but I also have no draw. So it's looking like this is going to be a late game deck of sorts. I prefer not to draft this way with Rogue. I'm going to tell you why. I prefer to draft a lot of early game with Rogue and finish the game early, because Rogue does a lot of damage to their face by using their hero power, and their health tends to get low, so they usually need to finish the game quickly. So usually I'd like my curve to be a few 1s, 2s, 3s, and then like a couple sprints to just refill my hand and just be really aggressive and really take control of the board early. So I'm not sure how this is going to go. I'm going to take the Sky Golem, and I'm going to make this a late game Rogue deck. This is not ideal for Rogue. Rogue, you want more of an early game type, take the board at all costs deck. So we're going to see how this goes. I'm going to do 2 games, again, walk you through what to look for when playing Rogue. And we'll see how I do in them. So let's get it started. I also have no healing and very few taunts. I guess Hogger also counts as a taunt. I guess I do have a bunch of taunts, but the little healing is a little scary, especially with all the mages around, because mages can just fireball your face. So this deck is probably going to do very bad against mages, but it might be okay against the other classes. I don't predict a very high win rate, though. But what's important is that we make sound decisions, because you'll win more games if you do that. Well, here's the dream opening. Coin into Defias Ringleader. Turn 2, Goblin Stalker. We don't have a lot of 3-drops, but I'm assuming that I'm going to have the get the weapon out at some point. I'm just trying to think about my curve here. Turn 1, turn 2. I guess keeping the Puddle Stomper is fine, because maybe I'll need to trade up. And then we'll hope to draw something else more useful than that. Well, that isn't it, but it's still a great start. Hopefully he doesn't have a 1-drop. Then it's definitely a great start. Okay. It is one of the best plays you can do as a rogue at the beginning. Also, then if he plays a 2-3, it allows you to play the weapon and still have minions on board, which is nice. Okay, so I'm actually going to play the 3-2 here because it's his turn 3 coming up, so he might be able to play like a Dark Cultist, and I need to kill it. 3-2s are better against 3-drops. Oh wow, he's playing really slowly. Let's hope to take advantage of this. Oh wow, we have the Assassin's Blade Tinker Sharpsword Oil combo. So I have to figure out which one of these 2-drops to play. Thinking that he might have Holy Nova, and he's going to on turn 5 sweep away my board. So I'm going to play... Next turn I'll probably use my dagger and play one of these as well. So let's play one that has more damage. Think about your turns that you're playing. So the next one and the next one, etc. It'll help you make better decisions in the turn you're currently on. Okay, he's going to go for the Shadow Boxer Juggle here. Hopefully it doesn't hit the 2-1. It does not. That's actually the perfect target for me. Okay, usually Dark Iron Dwarf is excellent turn 4, but I don't need it yet. Against Priest, the ordering doesn't matter, unless you have your own buffs in your deck, so feel free to place the minions as you please. Keeping that stealth isn't necessary here, because if he does use a Shadow Word Pain on it, I'm not that concerned. Also, it's important not to attack with the blade a lot of the time, if you can help it. This is a tough turn. I need to kill this thing. I can kill it by using the Dark Iron Dwarf, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use this first, so that it stays alive. I'll take the 5 damage to my face. Don't have to worry about burst damage from a priest. That's a dangerous card as a priest, because they can keep healing it and they can keep getting bigger. It's one you want to remove. Okay. So this is tricky. I can use my face again to kill it, which is probably what I'll do. I can also equip the Assassin's Blade, and then next turn I can use the River Crocolisk and the Oil. I can also just play the Hogger. I won't be able to kill it. I want to kill it. So I'm going to use the Assassin's Blade. But again, you can see how much damage the Rogue takes. Like, we're at the same amount of health right now, even though I've dominated this game. I don't think I have any 1-drops, otherwise I'd be able to combo the SI7 and the Tinker Sharpsword Oil next turn. Okay. How much damage is this? 7 plus 6. It's 14. We can bring him down to 5. So let's just do that. When you have this combo, you can get really aggressive. Especially against a priest, you don't have to worry about like a big taunt. Guess you kind of do. That's funny. I can still get through this pretty easily. Ooh. Is there some way to get lethal here? Hit that. No. Oh, wait. Yes, there is. Okay. Lethal. So, lethal here, a little tricky to see, I suppose, is you use the Nightblade to hit his face for 3. And then the SI7. Never forgive myself, I missed lethal on this video. Okay, so this is the last video, or the last game that I'm going to show. But you can see how my health got really low there, which is why, as a rogue, I want to try and finish the game quickly. In that case, we did because we got the Tinkers, which is a really great card, but it's why I don't think this deck will be that great because it's fairly slow, other than that particular card. I consider Paladin a good matchup for Rogue because Rogues can kill 2 Paladin's hero powers for 1 of its own, and that is very good. I don't have the coin, unfortunately. As the Rogue, you want the coin, especially with the SI7 and the Defias Ringleader cards. It's nice to be able to combo. So that mulligan there was very easy. I kept this because of True Silver Champion on turn 4, and this is my turn 2 play. Okay, I'll be able to show the downfall of the Annoyatron. Why I didn't pick it. It just doesn't do enough. It's good at protecting other minions, but that isn't that big a deal in a lot of situations. So, pretty easy there. We can kill that, and we still have a favorable trade on the board. And then if he does play something bigger, I can use a Dark Iron Dwarf, because he probably won't make this bad of a trade. So hopefully I'll get to demonstrate the power of the Dark Iron Dwarf. I will not. I was about to say I don't have a great play in my hand currently, but now I do. So what I can do is play these two, and then I have to attack this. Otherwise, he gets a free trade into that, and that survives. So I'm going to entice him to kill the River Croc, and I'll keep my Swordsmith alive. And maybe it'll get some value. It is a relatively... You can see why it's a poor card now, though. If this was another 2-3, I wouldn't have had to attack into that. Been able to save my dagger for something more useful. Well, you played a 3 health minion, so I get to use Dark Iron Dwarf. Dark Iron Dwarf isn't on curve, though, because I don't want him to just get this trade for free. I mean, he'll just be able to kill that and he'll still have 2 health, it won't matter. So even though it's off curve, and usually I like to play on curve, this is just too good. Oh no. Oh, there's only 3/4 attack 2 drops in the game, and that was one of them. I was not anticipating that at all. That could lose me the game. This is the reason why people complain so much about luck in this game. Because things like that have such a big impact. And yes, if I didn't have to attack with the Master Swordsmith. If I didn't have to attack into the Puddle Stomper last turn because of the Master Swordsmith, I would have still had 1 dagger, which would have allowed me to attack the what's that called that just popped out. Oh, sorry, jumbling my words, but that's why Master Swordsmith is bad. I made this play because I wanted to protect myself. More importantly, more than anything, I wanted to get down my dagger so I could take out some of these. So I wanted to get the dagger out, and that was the only card I could play with it. Unfortunately, I'm starting to take a lot of damage, but had to keep taking it. So if he has Consecrate, I'm in bad shape here. We had to hope he doesn't have it. It was either that or it was... That's why I played this over the Silverhand Knight, because if he had Consecrate, the Silverhand Knight would have been worse than the Spectral Knight. Also, it's not bad to play Ooze if you have no other 2-drops, like against a Paladin, for example. Like, don't feel afraid to. Like, you need to play a 2-drop. Like, don't just pass your turn. It's important to have board presence. Even though I know you want to take out True Silver, it's more important to not fall too far behind. See, I would have just lost if I played the Silverhand Knight. I still might have a chance here, but it's fleeting. Wow, he just loves this wolf. Okay. So, I'm going to kill this, and it'll probably be Avenge, which is what the most common one is. Okay, it's on that, unfortunately. If it was on this, I could take it out with that, but it's not, so I have to freeze it. I'm down to 6 health, though. Not good. That's why you need taunts and heals in a rogue deck. Let's see what he does. True Silver will kill me. Well, not right now, but it won't be good. Oh, that's a very powerful card. I can still take out that... Wow. I need Hawker? I'm trying to think of what could possibly save me here. That could. That honestly could. What's the best way to go about this? I'm going to be playing it. It's going to be... Because I'm very far behind. I need to get really lucky. I guess the first step is to... Okay. I need these bombs to be fairly perfect. Let's go. Let's check and see if a Doomsayer popped out. Oh, wow. They're not perfect. Okay, that's a loss. And you can see there's a good demonstration of why something like a 4-1 popping out. Remember, like I had a great lead, and then that 4-1 popping out of that Pilot Shredder actually lost me the game. And the fact that I had to play a Master Swordsmith lost me the game. So that's why having to take below average cards in Arena is not good, because sometimes they're the card that can kill you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will be back with more of the classes in Arena later. So thanks.